Ever wondered what makes TV so powerful in Jamaica? Time to find out. Welcome to Global TV Group 358, where television meets innovation. We're not just about shows, we're about shaping society. In Jamaica, TV keeps you informed, connects diverse voices, and supports democracy. Imagine a Jamaica where broadcasters unite, sharing data and collaborating globally. That's us, a unified voice in the TV industry. Did you know TV advertising is still king? It drives website traffic, boosts brand equity, and powers integrated campaigns. Even in an age of digital, TV stands strong, resilient in tough times. Our global TV deck is your treasure trove of insights and data. With charts, graphs, and success stories, it's your guide to impactful TV advertising. Curious to learn more? Visit our website and see how Global TV Group 358 keeps television at the heart of entertainment in Jamaica. Get ready to binge watch the future.
For me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy skin and we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't for me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, miss we eat the yellow rat you. Use the youth, the money, waste my must have statue. Say me like a cashew, but me got in a figure you. Take this bit of money, girl, and say that it's not you. One day the man above end up, him a got up. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly by like a patu. The singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me,
300% free.
it burn me,
Garbage pile of it.
it burn me,
Give the teacher them
it
raise.
burn me,
I see corruption
it
cease.
burn me,
Mash down the people them house.
it burn me,
Every day appear arms out.
it burn me,
Appear money them a thief.
it burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't for me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy skin and we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't for me again.
Come me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The urgent the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in our fever. Member bowl money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like people themselves.
It burn me,
Or they treat the market man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the cat man.
it burn me,
Or they treat the peanut man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the dirt man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the son man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat policeman.
it burn me,
How them a treat soldier man.
it burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't for me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy skin and we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again.
Stevie dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no keep. And some informer friend we love like. We in Global, bona fake friend and bona thief. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for. We in Global TV. Check it.
Good evening, and welcome to the People's Point of View. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the comprobing shooting death 20-year-old woman in Clarendon. Hold on, man, peeps, with us. Good evening. Former police commissioner among two people on bribery charges. That I wish part I can Jamaica. Of course not Jamaica. How could it bloody be? Anyway, good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is your program, The People's Point of View, to my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, dear subscribers, commenters, and trolls. Good evening and welcome. Beat and Teach, good evening. Real Sweet, good evening. Marcia Thomas. Good evening. Sharon Bernard, good evening. Willie Dunn. Paulette Lewis, good evening. Evan Bradford. Oops, sorry. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Mr. La search through the papers. Can nobody not hear yet? Not a soul. Here, in the media circle in Jamaica, because we know them here, you know. Because all of them patrol TikTok, all of them patrol everywhere. And these hair story, the Hairgate that we're covering comes from over TikTok. All of the papers them and all of the news and TV station them over TikTok. Colin, how are you? Nobody, no observer, no gleaner, no cliff, nobody, no TVJ, me not hear nobody with it yet. Violet Watson. So, it's not an issue. Is it because it's a non-issue? Is it because it's our children? It has become a non-issue. Or is it a settled matter? Is it a settled matter that the media is so silent on discrimination? Discrimination of the African identity. Discrimination of a major part of our identity makeup as Jamaicans based on our African heritage. Nobody have seen what is happening on social media. Nobody heard the plight of the young men, particularly the one on the left from McGrath High School, who has been asking Ministry of Education to intervene in the matter because he wants to go to school, but the school is playing politics with him. He wants to go to school, but the school is playing politics. Don't you think that's a cause for our media corps? Something that the Ministry of Education want to see it? Because just the other day, when we discuss the issue of Coburn Garden, primary and junior high, with Mr. Mignat and whatever is going on the school compound, perhaps the word never drop out of my mouth. When you call up and have a meeting about it. Do not pretend like you don't see this. Sharon Bernard, how are you? We're going to hold Uno guilty as well, media. Uno will jump around and pretend it's not happening. No, it's a lie. We know it's happening. We know that you are blatantly avoiding it. It was August last year after the Kensington ruling came out. And Dana must come out and clarify her position on the matter as well. Because following the ruling of in the appeals court in the Kensington, and I'm sure because Isaac was the one who covered that case. So I'm sure this is an issue that he will likely to pick up on Thursday evening. After that ruling, RJ, how you do? After that ruling, which the court accepted that Rastafarian student who was blocked from school because the school wanted her to cut her hair because it have lice and mole and junjo and all the such like and such a forth, the yabba 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 yab that they normally do. The court, however, though, accept the freedom of expression on freedom of religion, freedom of expression based on your religion. In August of last year, Faval didn't do what she should have done correctly. Rather than putting out an article in the news asking teachers not to bar, beat and teach, what go on, my friend? Asking teachers not to bar our students from school because of grooming and hair. That is not what should have been required in this contentious field. A field that has become contentious, that should be in 2025, Colleen Richards. Because freedom of expression is already enshrined in our Constitution, what the minister could do is the Department of Education, the Ministry of Education, the Either Jerk World, publish what is called a secondary legislation. Parliament don't have to debate it, but Parliament have, I think, review and oversight of it after a time. And that would send a directive, it would make it the legal framework as to how school administrators approach the issue of grooming a uniform and hair. It can be easily, if the Jamaica Labour Party is not hell-bent and discriminating because Bustamante and him friend them never like we hear for a morning. And even Black Andrew still can't tolerate it. Bustamante have a big problem. And Bustamante problem coming from the slave master, which Bustamante was, problem of our hair and our skin. Andrew Holness in 2025, Andrew Holness regime is still protecting that problem. And why I say Andrew Holness regime is protecting that problem, Catherine, how are you? This is the second time this debacle has cropped up under Andrew Holness's government. It has gone all the way up to the appeals court. The appeals court give a favorable ruling that would protect our children's identity. Since the issue still remains contentious, it is down to the Ministry of Education to put out a secondary law enforcing what it ought to be, stipulating punishment for school and administrators if anyone violate the fundamental right to education of our children. Education is a right, not a privilege. and how the Jamaica state is treating our children, if you don't comply with how we are comfortable with, deemed comfortable with your hair, you're not going to access this privilege. It is not a privilege, and the Ministry of Education need to make this clear. Education is a right, not a privilege. How it has been treated at the moment by school administrators across the country is like them I become fashion guru. Or educators, rather than go to school, figure teach with children them are to nourish the genius within our children them. Our teachers are go to school, go on Vogue, and all of them big something that we have to neat and fine figure upon them front cover. This is not a front cover exercise. This is not a front cover exercise. So with children, they must fit the eye of the magazine chief editor before them get a pass. But the problem is Jamaican parents accept it. That parent who fought all the way to the appeals court took the education of her child seriously. Two family is now going through the exact situation. What is wrong with these three here on screen? Two real, one fake. There's two real, one fake. The two real have been barred from accessing education because of the current look of their hair that you can see on screen. The one in the middle, the Minister of Education, sits in the highest office in our land, or parliament, in the upper house. She sits as a senator. Not only that, she sits in the nation's cabinet. The Minister of Education, Larkland, the Minister of Education, who one would expect to be exemplarious to our student, wouldn't you assume that would be what one of her role, to be an example to our students, to our children? But she turned around, turning upon the scene like a tow rag, and then want to tell us you have to fix up yourself to go on the front cover of the Vogue magazine. Because this is basically what they're telling our children. The way your hair look, it doesn't fit Vogue magazine. Why is the country so silent on open, blatant discrimination? Something we have constitutional protection against. Why everybody so silent about it? The papers them don't see it. The papers them don't see it. Why is mainstream media dodging this blatant open discrimination in our schools by the education department? Because the education department can solve this problem. All they have to do is implement an instrument, a secondary legislation that protects our children here in school. So anybody look left, we can sue them and we don't have to prove much to win them a court. The ministry can do that. And that will back teachers of our children. Make teacher go to school, go do what them train for do. Because everyone who say university are trained now to look upon what people are wear or how much inches your hair is, or the style your hair is cut in or plait in. Me never know say that our training. This is why our children are failing. Because the people them who will send them to a school, they're more concerned about fashion rather than education. Education is a human right. It's a human right, and you will find it in any country's charter under their fundamental rights. The rights to education, all of those rights stem from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All of those rights where you see are enshrined in Constitution, they all stem from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Some country just tweak them and twine them around. I think it's Article 12 over here in our clause that is the right to education. But education is whether you want to call it human rights or fundamental rights. But yes, education is one of the enshrined rights as well. But you know, say everything in Jamaica is ignored, looked aside. Them do what them want to, them don't do what them don't want to. It's how them cheat us. But it bothers me as to why nobody not talk. This is a big old story. Cliff Hughes, if I did Labour Party propaganda, you first spread, you would go tell it on the mountain. Why nobody not tell them if you go wash our hair? Same way they cannot tell if we pick them figure baba. Why nobody not tell them if you go wash our hair? If we pick them here one cut for Dana one wash. From we meet Dana, so Dana here stay. Margaret Lewis. Will's son rather. From we meet Dana. At the one condition Dana here, And if the Dana here condition is not a problem, as the Minister of Education, why should our children here be a problem? Why we don't tell Dana if we go wash and comb and trim her hair too and make her hair look presentable? Because can't when we are coming on a high offices them, we have to dress like a Vogue where we can take picture for we can wear sleeveless. We don't have to come with a tape measure and have to measure which part of we need if top. Fabian Anderson. We don't have to measure what part it top before we can get past. And then they turn up with this old dirty piece of crocus bag. So rain wetty, so sun come dry, so breeze blowy, and it's still turbant in front of our face same way. And Dana Dixon said, the picnic them here. The picnic them here don't up to the part of fear and fear teacher them I. Even when the young man asks intervention from the Ministry of Education, not a soul, no but an eyelid. Mainstream media no hear about it, nobody no see it. Everybody see it over TikTok. All of the media them. All of them will call themselves mainstream media. Them see it over TikTok. Them just flip past it. Or they, even if them stop and watch it like the rest of it, they deem it as a non-story and a nothing for concern about. We just had a court ruling last year on the same here debacle. If these teachers understand how the law works, them shouldn't even start up this nonsense again. You legal people in the legal department at Ministry of Education, can you advise Dana Dixon on the consequences of that ruling, and if we have to go back to court in another hair debacle, how it would weigh on the government and the Ministry of Education? Christine Gilbert, how are you? Because every government ministry have a legal department. Why is the legal counsel for the Ministry of Education not providing the proper advice on this? Or, for that matter, the Governor General on this matter ought to give his opinion to the Prime Minister as to how the nation ought to view the court ruling in line with this here debacle that we continuously see plucking up in front of it all the time. It's a disgrace when you look at it. Althea Johnson. It's a disgrace to see how they use Bob Marley, them use African culture, and all of the malarkeys to promote them tourism to make money off of it. But when it come to just simple showing respect to the culture, it's not there. When it comes to just simply showing respect, hold on, let me. Deb, you were calling me. Do you want to talk about this subject? If you want to talk about the subject, let me know in the comment and I'll contact you back, because when I answer it, just hang up straight away. Arlene Foster, how are you? You know, me start drink back coffee again in my people, because that winter, it boring me to drink coffee. You must hear about Edmund Bartlett lion story, though. Have you all heard about the Edmund Bartlett lion story? Because we must go tell it on the mountain, you know. This interview was done last year, the 11th of November, 2024. But we didn't get quite quick access to it. But it's still relevant. Very much still relevant. Because the crime and everything and the tourist issue and everything them talk about, it's still relevant. It's an interview that was done weeks ago. This is an interview that is weeks old. And Edmund Bartlett and the Jamaica government still continue to lie about the crime figures. The unstoppable one. How are you? We did come off of it for about 6 weeks or so, you know. But Lord, I have to go on back upon it. Maybe we have to try come off again in a summer, but in a winter you need a little coffee friendship. But We're going to run Edmund Bartlett again because the people need to hear. Because remember, we're coming up to a general election where they will be coming with a lot of the lies. Cliff Hughes, good evening. Pata Pata Mout, Cliff Hughes, Granny Sus. Listen to how interview is done. Listen to how people, when they have them head up politician, rear end Cliff Hughes, how they question politician. Listen to media host Cliff Hughes, who no whole politician nothing, who no sleep with politician or them and them friend them as them not whole politician nothing. So when them ask question, them ask on behalf and in the interest of information, education, and the people, Cliff Hughes. Not like you were asked in the interest of Batism and tax. Cliff? Not like that. Good asking question. We make minister have a lie to teeth.
Having bounced back from COVID, there is now an ambitious plan to get annual visitor
Hold
numbers
on,
up to 6, even 8 million. A pretty extraordinary number for an
Hold
island
on.
of fewer than 3 million people. But there are... Welcome to Hard Talk from the BBC World Service with me, Stephen Sackett. My guest today has long been one of the most high-profile international advocates for the charms of his country. Edmund Bartlett is a long-serving politician in the Jamaican Labour Party. He's served as a minister in several different departments over several decades. But for the last 8 years, he's been the island nation's Minister of Tourism. It is a job that matters. Tourism accounts for 1/3 of Jamaica's economic activity. Having bounced back from COVID, there is now an ambitious plan to get annual visitor numbers up to 6, even 8 million. A pretty extraordinary number for an island of fewer than 3 million people. But there are problems clouding this sunny horizon. Climate change and more frequent extreme weather events threaten to cost Jamaica dear. And the island's attractiveness to visitors has taken a hit thanks to endemic violence and gang-related crime, which has put Jamaica close to the top of the global league table for murders per capita. Instability used to dog Jamaican politics and management of the economy, but in recent years the political scene has been calmer and Jamaica has sought to wield significant influence on the world stage in debates about climate change and reparations for slavery. But still, Jamaicans want to see their country made more secure. What will that take? Well, Edmund Bartlett joins me now. Welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's my honor and pleasure to share this 25 minutes or so with you.
Thank you. We're delighted you're here. Let's start with your specific responsibility, your portfolio, tourism in Jamaica. Do you think it is healthy for Jamaica to be an economy that right now is so heavily dependent on tourism?
Tourism's role in economic development and economic building is very pervasive and sometimes misunderstood, because tourism is not a single economic activity. It's a confluence of many economic parts, all of which have an economic outcome of its own. So that tourism doesn't happen unless agriculture is flourishing and doing well. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen unless manufacturing is flourishing and doing well. It doesn't happen unless energy supplies are available, medical supplies are available, a range of services. It doesn't happen unless entertainment is available, attractions are available. So I could go on and on.
I get your point. I mean, clearly it is a part of a much bigger economic picture,
it's
and there are sort of interlinks within that economy. I get that. But fundamentally, right now, pretty much 1/3 of economic activity in your country is linked to tourism. And we saw during COVID how vulnerable that can leave Jamaica if things go wrong.
Right. But that vulnerability is balanced by resilience that tourism has, which is the most resilient of all industries. It bounces back faster and it enables economic recovery at a faster rate. So that within a year and a half of COVID, Jamaica's economy was back on track. In fact, we had 11 consecutive quarters of economic growth, unprecedented in our history, because tourism grew and grew exponentially. In the period, we moved from 0 arrivals in 3 years to 4.3 million arrivals and earning 4.6
But at some
billion
point, yeah,
US
no, I mean, the numbers are impressive, but at some point you're going to have to rein in your ambition. I saw somewhere you said you want to see 6 million visitors a year. I mean,
Prime Minister actually said 8.
8?
Yes.
But your
And that's-
population is only, what, 2.8 million?
2.8. Well, it tells
This
you.
sounds like you are putting a strain on the resources, the infrastructure of your country that, frankly, it may not be able to bear.
Excellent point, in fact, because that's what defines over tourism and the final analysis.
And you must be
to
aware,
build-
in the west of your country, Negril and some other tourist communities close by, there have been water shortages. People have had to bring in privatized water at vast expense. There are people in their hotel rooms saying they couldn't get a shower, they couldn't get drinking water, it
Right.
was in
So,
short supply.
so here's the challenge. The challenge is to build the carrying capacity to enable us to plan appropriately and to accrete your infrastructure capacity to enable this increase in arrivals. So the decision to have 8 million is not lightly taken, and it has to be against the background of a whole series of development and infrastructure improvement, i.e. building carrying capacity over
November, Lachlan, it was
And at
November.
the same time as you say
Few
that
weeks
the government
ago.
is absolutely across that need to build in resilience, you also know that there are grave concerns in Jamaica about the long-term impacts of climate change.
Indeed.
And extreme weather events, which, as we saw this last summer with Hurricane Beryl, are putting another and very different massive strain on your infrastructure and resources.
Absolutely. And, that's why we move very quickly to establish institutional mechanisms to build capacity to, one, forecast disruptions, observatories that allow us to look down the road to see what's happening. Secondly, to create opportunities for mitigation against these disruptions. Thirdly, to build capacity to manage the disruptions when they come. And then to recover quickly. And fifthly, to thrive.
See, I just
so it's against that background, that I established the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center.
Listen, I get it. I get your ambition, but I also wonder about that word hubris. You're talking about very quickly getting to 8 million visitors a year. We know that extreme weather events are becoming more common, not least in the Caribbean. And then I look at what happened this summer when Hurricane Beryl hit, and immediately, according to UNICEF, 160,000 Jamaicans, including almost 40,000 children, were in dire need of humanitarian assistance. I mean, it just seems there's something going on here.
No, we recovered so fast from the Beryl impact. Indeed, Beryl didn't hit Jamaica directly.
We recovered so fast, he said. Edmund Bartlett said, we recover in weeks. Raphael now did conquer some people in a shelter, well, it end up in a shelter from Burial. And me wrong or Edmund Bartlett wrong? Now, Mr. If Raphael not did conquer people in a shelter, well, in a shelter from Burial, whenever I've nowhere to go because, anyway, Edmund Bartlett said we'll recover.
What happened is that Beryl passed close to the southern side of Jamaica, and the outer bands of Beryl caused some difficulty for us. But the northern side of Jamaica was essentially untouched.
Sure.
So for example,
I guess I'm just getting to this point. If one looks forward, do you believe when it comes to climate change, let's leave aside the strain of tourism, but do you believe when it comes to climate change that Jamaica is getting enough long-term investment and assistance from the rich world, as has been promised at various climate summits and conferences? Because I'm looking at the figures, and thus far,
you know why we're going to continue to play this? The low employment figures that they're going to come to tell us about in their election campaign will be predicated on the tourism economy. The good economic management we can name will be also predicated on this tourist economy. So we must remind them what them tell foreign journalists, because the Jamaica Labour Party have a way of telling foreign journalists one thing and then telling Jamaican journalists another. Like during burial, when Andrew told foreign journalists we have 870 odd shelters, Desmond McKenzie told Jamaican journalists that we have about 60 odd or so shelter. Matthew Samuda tell foreign journalists that we have about 780 odd or so shelters. So we know so them tell we one thing and them tell foreign another thing. So let us listen what them are tell foreign, so because we know upon the election campaign, them are going to tell we something completely different.
Given the nature, the scale of the pledges, countries like Jamaica are actually getting very, very little in terms of real, tangible assistance.
That I agree 100% with you on that. And that is perhaps the challenge of island states such as Jamaica that are, in fact, highly vulnerable and weakly resourced. So there has to be a greater ambition among the multilaterals to recognize the particular vulnerability of island states in this regard and to provide greater support, and also to provide support at a level that enables them to access it. Because that's part of the big problem, that the protocols are so onerous that small countries like Jamaica have a difficulty in accessing it to the extent that we require. And so that really has to be the big argument that must occupy our discourse.
And that's going to be a huge challenge to get your voice heard and to get tangible help. But let's talk now about a different challenge facing you as tourism minister, but facing your government more generally. And that is the massive damaging impact of endemic violent crime inside Jamaica. It damages people inside your country. It tarnishes your reputation far beyond your own country. It's extremely damaging for the tourism sector. What are you going to do about it?
Well, firstly, we recognize
Richard Reed, Evelyn.
And it's a challenge that is not peculiar to Jamaica, but that gives us no
Well, I'll tell you what's peculiar.
That absolutely gives
the
us
scale
no
of the problem. If you look at the homicide rate in Jamaica, it outstrips any other country with a significant population in the whole of Latin America and the Caribbean. Your murder rate is far higher than Honduras, for example, which used to be the murder capital of the world, far higher than Ecuador or El Salvador. And if one looks across the world at countries like South Africa, which have a huge violent crime problem, you're far higher in terms of homicide rate.
Stephen, here's the story. The work has been done and is being done. Jamaica is realizing reduction in every element of violent crime over the last 12 months in particular. We're seeing tangible work. Investment has been put into building capacity for social development, for dealing with recidivism, to deal with whole building of capacity for people to have better understanding and relationships. So all of that is happening. Then hard laws are being put in place to deal with it. So it's not just a question of punitive action.
I never understand when they say we're building capacity. I wonder what they actually mean when they say we're building capacity. I really never understand when politicians use that, because it sounds so vague and blank. We're building capacity. Can you explain further? It's just one of the normal lies where politicians generally tell when you talk to them about resources. We're building capacity. I really don't understand what they mean when they say that.
Action. It is also about social development. Through the ZOSO that we have developed, these are zones of economic support for communities that are pressured socially.
Zones of economic support. Those are the ZOZOs. Now, for those of you who are in ZOZO implemented areas, would you like to inform us about the economic advantage that, or the economic benefit that your area has received from programs implemented by this government under its draconian ZOZO scheme? Because we don't know, So that's why we ask. Because we don't know. And we hear Edmund Bartlett say something.
Pride.
You say you're,
and it
you're
is
on
making
top
a
of it.
huge difference.
Do you,
I just want to make.
Let me. There's space here for a few questions. Do you know how many separate armed criminal gangs are believed to be at work in Jamaica right now?
I don't have a figure on that, but what I'm saying is that the level of dismantling of those gangs have been phenomenal.
Well, I mean, for your information, a respected 2021 study, admittedly that's 3 years old, but there's no reason to believe it's changed very much, found there were, quote, 379 separate organized criminal gangs in Jamaica with a population of fewer than 3 million.
But you know, it is very interesting that that number could be there, but look at how they have been managed over time. And the truth of the matter is that we have been dismantling, and the Ministry of National Security has had enormous record over the last number of years in dismantling them. And Jamaica's position has not caused, for example, the growth in our tourism. Let's take, for example, which is a very sensitive industry, has not caused a growth reduction. Indeed, we have grown exponentially over the period.
Well, hang on, if that's true,
and critically,
you're making the case, you're saying, you know what, we're on top of it, things are getting better. If that is all true, why has the US government, for example, still got a travel advisory out which suggests that all those considering traveling to Jamaica should, quote unquote, reconsider travel due to crime? And if you do go, it says, exercise increased caution. Some areas have increased risk. It says violent crime occurs throughout the country. Sexual assaults occur frequently, including in all-inclusive resorts. That's the official US government advice.
That narrative is the narrative of a few months ago. You should look at the most recent. You should look at the most recent
from the US government.
The fact is, however, that this is a category 3, which we have had since COVID, and notwithstanding that, we have seen exponential growth, investment in.
It's not category there. It's not category. It's level. L-A-V-E-L-E level. L-A-V-E-L-E level. Not K-A-T-E-G-E itinerary. Dunce.
Jamaica has been phenomenal. FDI has grown phenomenally, and we have had 11 consecutive quarters of economic growth. Now, that is not to say.
But do you think the US government, the UK government, whose travel advisories still advise enormous caution if traveling to Jamaica, and at least in the Americans' case, argue that you should reconsider your travel plans? Do you think that they are just plain wrong? And if you do, what are you doing about it?
Absolutely, we're not saying you're wrong. What we're saying is that what has been indicated there is not altogether related to activities that are happening, because travel advisories are a composite of many things, including geopolitical considerations. We don't ignore that. And we take that, and the good news, in fact, if there's any, is that the arrivals out of the US, for example, has almost doubled in the last 8 years.
Another point, we've discussed violent crime. You say that the trends are in a positive direction. But there's one other thing which is on the minds of some potential visitors to Jamaica, and that is Jamaican attitudes to homosexuality, in particular male gay sex. Now, under your law, as I understand it, that can be penalized. That is, gay sex between men can be penalized by prison terms up to 10 years, including hard labor. And the UK official advice to travelers says, and I'm quoting, the attitude of many Jamaicans towards same-sex relationships is hostile. Your tourism minister, would you like to see Jamaica change its laws and change its attitude toward homosexuality?
Well, I tell you, once you go, you know. And I think that's statement which is factual for all visitors who come to Jamaica, including UK visitors.
Once you today, go, you know, what do you mean?
Once you go, you know how hospitable, how kind, and how responsive the Jamaicans are to all visitors of whatever class, race, creed, lifestyle, or orientation. And there's no question about that.
If you're a gay man who chooses to holiday in Jamaica with your partner, you can, as I understand the law, be at risk of being locked up.
Well, you'll be surprised if you ever come to see, and perhaps you should,
Well, I'd love to come to Jamaica.
Absolutely.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying
You should-
that
you should.
these laws, though they're on the statute book, mean nothing? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're not saying that at all. But you know that laws are stated in relation to a number of factors. And indeed, laws have also timelines that go beyond what is current. And current situations sometimes reflect not necessarily what legal positions are.
Talking about the law and talking about lawlessness, I think it's interesting to think about Jamaica in the wider context of your region. I mean, interesting things are happening in other countries. I'm thinking now of Central America, which is not so very far away, where various countries have tried to address violent crime, gangs and cartels, and a prominent country doing its utmost is El Salvador. Now there, the president has passed draconian new laws, which have seen him lock up, and I think this is right from my latest reading, up to 1% of the entire population. That is a vast number of young males have been locked up because of their involvement in criminal gangs and violent crime. Homicides, as a result of this crackdown, have gone down from 53 per 100,000, still not quite as high as you in Jamaica, just as 2.4. i.e. a draconian crackdown works. Would Jamaica consider it?
We're a democracy. And we have to respond.
I mean, President Bukele in El Salvador, he was elected too.
But we are a democracy from your Westminster system. And we rule essentially by the laws, as you know. And we think that managing our crime situation has to be a mix of many factors. Strong laws, strong action by way of policing, but strong social interventions as well. And that's a mix that Jamaica is using to deal with the crime.
But that
and the indication
Jamaica is not going to engage in. Is that what you're saying?
Draconian lockdowns of that type would not go well with the kind of democracy that we have.
Do you think you get enough help from the end user countries where the cocaine that passes through Jamaica is consumed? I'm thinking of the United States and Europe. Do you think you get enough help from them when it comes to cracking down on drug use, consumption? And do you think you get enough help, particularly from the United States, when it comes to stopping the flow of guns, weapons into your country?
That's the problem. The real problem is stopping the flow of guns and weapons into the country. And so that there is need for much more ambition in this area, far more support to enable a significant cessation of flows into our space.
Let me ask you about a different set of questions which are facing Jamaica, because as I said at the very beginning, you pride yourselves on being an influential country across the Caribbean. And one of the big questions facing you and some other Caribbean nations is whether you want to, in the end, cut your ties with the British monarchy, stop recognizing the British monarch as your formal head of state. Jamaica said some time ago, the government said that it was going to put a proposal before the people of your country by 2025. Now it seems that's not going to happen. Why?
Well, the proposal is pretty much on track. I think one of the changes that you have to consider in all of this is one which brings people into the mainstream of discussions and discourses so that there's full consensus in every step of the way. And that process is ongoing in Jamaica now. And yes, we will repatriate our sovereignty. There's no question about that. And I think that's the way that all countries want to go.
You say there's no question about it, but I'm looking at what you said in 2022 when William and Kate visited Jamaica. You said then the time has come to address this issue of repatriating our sovereignty. We need to do it now with grace and ease and no rancor. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, you said that.
And that remains the position.
Well, yeah, but nothing's actually,
no,
it's not being delivered, is it?
No,
you're now, if I may, because people won't know this, you're now locked in a dispute with the opposition party in Jamaica because the opposition says they will not support going to a referendum and support the idea of cutting ties with the monarchy unless at the very same time your government agrees that it's not just about the monarchy, but also a change so that the new final court of arbitration for Jamaicans is no longer the Privy Council, as it's always been under the current system, but becomes the Caribbean Court of Justice. Your government is refusing to accept that.
Yeah, but that's the opposition's position. We're government, and we're government because we are managing the will of the people. And so the position that the government takes on the matter is in consonance with the will of the people. So the opposition may have a position, and the day when the people give them the mandate, then of course. But what it is now is that we're moving ahead to repatriate our sovereignty. The process is ongoing. We have a minister who is responsible for piloting the process through the parliament, and also with multiple consultations across the country. Town hall meetings are happening as we speak in various parts of the country, where we're getting feedback from people as to what the new constitution amendment should be.
But I guess the opposition has one advantage, and that is logic, because the opposition is saying it has to be about full, quote unquote, full decolonization. That is not just cutting ties with the monarchy, but cutting ties with the Privy Council.
But decolonization doesn't mean that you lose everything that may be beneficial to you. To repatriate your sovereignty means that you now have responsibility for your own management, and you choose what you need to retain and what you should not. And so the right of Jamaicans to retain what they feel is good for them must never be denied.
Do you think it is a right of Jamaicans
Norman Ferguson, how are you?
financial compensation from the UK government for the history of enslavement which your people suffered from?
I think it is a discussion that must continue, because there is a growing consensus among peoples of the world that the wrongs, the heinous wrongs of history need to be made right. And I think reparation is a discussion along that line.
But are you talking about clear financial compensation? Because the UK Foreign Secretary at the recent Commonwealth Summit in Samoa said that it is not, quote, about the transfer of cash. I just wonder whether you as a government minister in Jamaica think very clearly it is about the transfer of cash.
Well, I don't personally, and this is not a government position, personally, I don't think it is necessarily about transfer of cash. I think it is a lot more about a recognition that a wrong has been done and a determination to right that wrong. Now, the mechanisms for righting that wrong is still for discussion, whether it is about cash transfers or it is about creating institutional support mechanisms to build technical support for individuals, educational development, or other social development. But what has to be done is some reparatory activity.
A cynic might say that the British government, by saying it wants to continue the discussion, but saying that, you know, there's no prospect of cash being transferred, it wants to kick the whole issue into the long grass. Do you believe, from the perspective of Jamaica, perspective of the Caribbean, that it can be kicked into the long grass and essentially forgotten?
Well, I think that it is impatient of time, and attempting to kick in the long grass will not wear well with a growing consciousness in the world, not just here in the UK, because the consciousness is strong in the UK too. There are far more conciliatory comments that are coming from quarters that were totally unexpected, because I think the clash of values, what I call the intergenerational clash of values, have now come to roost. We are recognizing that indeed the values of the past caused a wrong that has scarred humanity, and that wrong must be made right, and the time for it is now.
Edmund Bartlett, we have to end there, but I thank you for joining me on Hard Talk.
Thank you, Stephen.
Everything he said was a lie. And the reason why we're going to continue to bring it to you is because we make sure we bar them before election come. And we have their counter argument, them foreign story to tell them when election come. But despite how we keep spreading the propaganda, how well the Minister of National Security is doing on the crime figures, it's not actually showing to us, because the year starts quite bloody and is chattering on quite bloody, Dr. Chang. Andrew Holness, 34 murders in 11 days. 34 murders in 11 days. Do you think Uno can convince we with crime figures? No matter how Uno massage the figures and come to us, and the Prime Minister could walk around from police division to police division, drawing out police officers under the camera to tell the Jamaican public how well they're doing on crime fighting, how well the crime figures are down. It's not working. Even we're reporting in news, which is not all of it. Not all of it, you know. It goes against the figure wanna always come out, come tell we how well you all have done. Shame on this government. Shame on this government for their failures. This government has become a disgrace from every angle and every corner. You're not going to resign at this point, Andrew Holness. Hurry up and call the election. Let the people of Jamaica decide if you're a sliced bread that has just come out of the oven, or you're a sliced bread where grow mole and jonjo, Prime Minister. Call the election. The nation will send you that signal. Whether you're fresh sliced bread or you're jonjo sliced bread. Just call the election. I'm sure if you are such a good Prime Minister, excellent as it gets, the nation will not throw you under the bus because the nation loves prosperity. The nation loves prosperity, you know. And because you have pivoted, we expect you to pivot to prosperity 2.0. Because you can't depend on the same speed after all this time you have been on the prosperity journey. And you can't change gear, Prime Minister, shift position, stay at the same place and stay at the same speed. So therefore, the pivoting is 2.0 of the economic success that you claim say I go build pan. So we can see it, touch it, feel it, and taste it. Because without you tell we say it can nyam, you know, we would have go touch it and feel it. Now it can nyam, we all taste it as well. But while you're at it, Prime Minister, while you're at it, tell Dana to the nation a talk about her here. Tell Dana to have all the money the nation appear. The nation feel a way that every time them look upon her, them stomach sick. Every time them look upon her, lice and jonjo a fall out her hair. Talk to Dana about her hair, Prime Minister. Same how the principal them a talk to a picnic them. Talk to Dana about the dirty hair, sir. It has sick whole heap with tumok. It has become an eyesore to the Jamaican people, Prime Minister. So talk to them about the dirty hair. Just like I want to talk to Phil, pick them about the Junjo and Lacey here. We want you to talk to Dana about the half dry, half wet hair. Because Dana, we have to sweat under that. Get up and spray it up a morning time. It must think about whole heap of sweat and them something the Prime Minister. So talk to Dana about the hair. So we have an equal cross the board galangin. No so? Send Dana got hairdresser. Like how them careless graduate fi come watch fashion and not teachers. Them a send picnic a barber. Send Dana got hairdresser too. We pay her enough money, you know. Even if she never get money as senator, she get a ministerial salary now. Let's say Dana, when you do keep the hair dirty, and because you say you just did up on a stipend in the Senate, but then again you can't walk and talk so because for you come in the Senate, you get drafted into the cabinet. That's why you came to the Senate. So you're upon a ministerial salary for you come. You mean to say, if ghetto girl with market stall and corner shop can do here, Dana, we pay you minister salary. But anyway, the young man down my God if he tell you, say, he might ask your intervention. And don't think we're going to come out for your dirty hair until you adjust food, pick them clean hair. All right, ma'am? Thank you all for joining us this evening on the Global Television Group. 300% and your ear still dirty. Your ear still agro Junjo. We still have to walk and pick up dandruff behind you and remember to see you drop something that Miss Maris. How dare Uno? How dare Uno? If you look upon with decent woolly hair, top of the line material, and I tell we say not suitable, and then you roll up with jackass tail. You roll up with curly jackass tail, Dana Dixon, and if you just accept yourself, how dare you, little girl? Make case and fix the issue because we're not done, and we're not done because when we catch out, we're not up. Anyway, my people, thank you all very much for being here with us this evening on the Global Television Group. It was your program, The People's Point of View. Join us back tomorrow morning for your At a Glance program. Thank you very much for watching, and good night from the Global Television Group. Jeanette Brissett, how are you? Go wash your hair, Dana. Go wash your hair. It's sick with tumok.
If you don't like missing out on the latest shows but still enjoy classic hits, then Global TV Group 358 is your perfect match. Global TV Group 358 isn't just another channel, it's your ultimate TV experience. From breaking news to binge-worthy dramas and timeless classics, we've got it all. Our unique blend of original content and global favorites means there's something for everyone. And guess what? With GTVG's seamless streaming, you can watch anywhere, anytime. Plus, our interactive features let you be part of the action. So, whether you're a seasoned binge watcher or a casual viewer, Global TV Group 358 is here to keep you entertained day and night. Don't just watch TV, experience it with Global TV Group 358. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.